Alvin, have you told your nephew that penguins are really, really chocolatey?
No, I haven't, Murray.
Why not, Alvin?
Because he's not my nephew, that's why. Where is the little...
Pick up a penguin.
Flora. High in polyunsaturates, low in saturates, and low in cholesterol. For your blooming generation.
How can you be sure of the right shot at the right time? Edit 20 boring minutes into 5 exciting ones.
He moved.
Lucy, you smiling? Or be sure you shed enough light on the subject. Each week, Camcorder Know-How builds into a complete course of filming and editing techniques, plus equipment guide and ideas, with step-by-step instructions to bring you practical know-how and the best results. Get more out of your camcorder with Camcorder Know-How.
Because you love him, give him Caesar. Choice cuts of fine meats carefully selected and prepared with the vitamins and minerals he needs every day. Caesar, to love him like he loves you.
(9) on Saturday evening, January the 2nd, and a 24-year-old care assistant was cycling from Love Lane Corner in Cleethorpes along Humberston Road on her way to work. As she passed the Matthew Humberston School playing fields, the chain on her bike fell off. She stopped to repair it on a track. As she was bending over the bike, a man approached and pushed her to the ground, where he indecently assaulted her. She screamed and the man ran away in the direction of Love Lane Corner. The woman, who was slightly injured and very shocked, ran for help to a nearby house. This is a likeness of the man responsible. Police believe he also attacked a 14-year-old girl near Grimsby Golf Club on April the 4th. If you know anything about this incident or any crime at all, call Crimestoppers now on 0800 555 111. Your call is free, you don't have to give your name, and you could claim a cash reward.
This man's just been will clamped.
I can take my glasses off and just knock you. You know what I mean?
You get arrested.
I won't get arrested.
Edit 5, 10:40 on ITV tonight.
The time now is 10 o'clock, and we join Trevor MacDonald at ITN for the latest world news.
From the headquarters of ITN, News at 10, with Trevor MacDonald.
Clinton talks tough, Serbs offer a concession tonight. Asil Nadir, safe at home, talks of returning for trial. See you in court, Virgin ends talks with British Airways. And how this computer disc can bring pornography into your home. Good evening. The Yugoslav government announced within the last few hours that it's cutting all aid to the Bosnian Serbs. The only exceptions will be food and medicine. Tonight, Lord Owen called it an important development. The move comes less than 24 hours after the Bosnian Serb parliament voted to reject the Owen-Vance peace plan. Today in Washington, President Bill Clinton called the vote in the Serb parliament a grave disappointment. And he said America was ready to act, but only in collaboration with its European allies. ITN's Bill Neely reports from Washington.
President Clinton took his first tentative steps today to isolate Serbia. Despite gestures tonight from Belgrade, the US line is firm. Serbia must be punished. Its allies in Bosnia had every chance to vote for peace, and they blew it.
Their action is a grave disappointment to all of us who seek an early and peaceful resolution to what has been a very brutal conflict.
There will now be more talks with Britain and France on airstrikes. The US won't act alone, said the president, but it will seek to make of Serbia what it made of Iraq, an outlaw nation.
The Serbs' actions over the past year violate the principle that internationally recognized borders must not be violated or altered by aggression from without. Their actions threaten to widen the conflict and foster instability in other parts of Europe in ways that could be exceedingly damaging.
At the UN, a call to arms against Serbia.
They're going to continue with the genocide, and I'm afraid that the only way to deal with them is to confront them.
Bosnia's foreign minister telling Washington a massacre is imminent in the besieged Bosnian town of Zepa.
40,000 people are now in caves with no defense. They are in great danger for life.
I talked to President Erdogan today.
But before Mr. Clinton makes any move, he must win the support of the Allies, Congress, and a skeptical public.
Most Americans at this point don't know the issues in Bosnia, much less where it is.
The White House says no deadline has been set for military action, and none is expected before the Bosnian Serbs have their referendum in 10 days. After that, their time may be up. Bill Clinton's crisis has now arrived. A UN resolution and a speech to the nation lie ahead. His young administration poised and in peril. Bill Neely, News at 10, Washington.
There have been calls throughout the day for Serbia to exert real pressure on the Bosnian Serbs. Mr. Major was one of many world leaders to make that call. Our diplomatic editor James Mates now reports on worldwide reaction to Serbia's clampdown.
The rift is now public. The two Serb leaders shaking hands this morning but barely speaking. President Milosevic of Serbia itself leaving to impose what amount to sanctions against his Bosnian Serb counterpart. For Milosevic, last night's humiliation at the hands of Bosnia's military hardliners was the final straw. His country's under such pressure from the West that he now wants peace. But his former allies in Bosnia insist on fighting on. So he's closing the border, preventing further fuel and supplies crossing the River Drina, trying with both actions and words to prevent any Western military intervention being aimed at Serbia itself.
I believe that all people in Bosnia want peace, and that decision is one irresponsible decision.
To the authors of the Vance Owen Plan, Milosevic always held the key to peace. In Athens last weekend, they persuaded him to bully the Bosnian Serb leader Radovan Karadzic into signing their plan. Lord Owen still believes Milosevic can exert his will on the Bosnian Serbs, and that, for the time being, this must be a better option than Allied airstrikes.
And I think it's very much now up to President Milosevic and the fellow Yugoslav presidents to deliver effectively the Bosnian Serbs for this settlement.
Moscow has long been the Serbs' staunchest friend, but last night's events in Bosnia now ensure that they are alienated from even their historic allies.
President Yeltsin made it more than once absolutely clear that there is no reasonable alternative to Vance Owen Plan, and that Russia will not cover anyone who goes contrary to the international community.
Which leaves the Western allies a relatively free hand, but no consensus on the next move. US Secretary of State Warren Christopher has been trying to talk the Europeans into arming the Muslims and bombing the Serbs. But with their own troops on the ground and a humanitarian mission at risk, Britain and France are deeply reluctant. Downing Street warmly welcomed tonight's developments, not least because they postpone the need for tough decisions.
What has changed in the last few days is the split that now seems to be apparent between the Bosnian Serbs and Mr. Milosevic. Now, I think that is a very encouraging move.
Tough sanctions against Serbia will continue to be enforced by sea and land, European leaders crossing their fingers that the Bosnian Serbs will give way before the Americans lose patience.
The runaway tycoon Asil Nadir said today he'll come back to Britain to stand trial if he's allowed unconditional bail. He wants to be able to come and go as he pleases. His offer in a letter faxed to the Foreign Office was passed to the Home Office and turned down. They said bail conditions were for the courts. An Old Bailey judge issued a warrant for Mr. Nadir's arrest today, and the Serious Fraud Office disclosed it had been tipped off on Sunday that he was planning to flee. He's now in Lapta in Turkish North Cyprus. Robert Moore reports from there.
All morning in this tranquil village, the house shutters were closed. Asil Nadir was sleeping late. The only clue to what Cypriots are calling the great escape from British justice was the gathering of reporters outside his front door. And then he emerged, mobbed by photographers and cameramen, smiling, looking not so much a fugitive on the run, but a suave businessman, even handing out some friendly advice.
I think, if you don't mind me saying so,
if you'd all calm down, you know, I think we all feel better. Can you just calm down for 2 minutes so that I could say what I want to say? And then you can all relax. But, you know, you're going to squash each other, so why don't you just relax and sort of pull back a little bit?
Let's all go back, chaps.
Why don't you do that?
Yeah, well, let's go back.
Look. Can I please say that I'm so happy that you all shown this interest and you're here.
All questions, he said, would be answered tomorrow. The only sight he had of the law, not the serious fraud office, not Scotland Yard, rather 2 local policemen coming to see what the fuss was all about. The old men of Lapta have seen nothing like it, witnesses to the dramatic return of their neighbour. Here they revere Asil Nadir for investing his fortune in their economy. Ironically, many British law officials are also in Cyprus at a conference on the Greek side. The Lord Chancellor, Lord Mackay, who's attending, may try and intervene to persuade the Turkish Cypriots to hand over Nadir.
Let us see.
But what is becoming ever clearer is that Asil Nadir is likely to have escaped the reach of British justice. There is no extradition treaty. Britain doesn't even recognise this breakaway republic. And most important of all, here he is among friends who will never turn him over. Robert Moore, News at 10, in Lapta, northern Cyprus.
Here, police think they've found the body of a man whose wife and children were discovered murdered at their home in a Gloucestershire village on Monday. Dennis Garvey hasn't been seen since and his car was missing. Police haven't said how 4-year-old Benjamin and 2-year-old Hannah died. Their mother had head injuries. The body of the man was found in the sea off Lowestoft in Suffolk this morning. 2 hours later, police found a car about 2 miles away. There'll be a formal identification tomorrow. The dirty tricks dispute between Richard Branson's Virgin Atlantic Airline and British Airways went back to the courts today. Virgin issued a High Court writ and said it would take other action too. ITN's David Chater has the story.
Virgin Atlantic are calling their legal action against British Airways a fight for proper compensation, and it's one that will take place on several fronts. They gave notice today they'll pursue their arch-rivals in the American and European courts as well. It follows the breakdown of talks between the 2 airlines aimed at settling the so-called Dirty Tricks affair. Virgin's writ alleges copyright infringement by BA, as well as breach of confidence and misuse of confidential information. It's alleged that BA accessed Virgin's passenger details and information.
One of the problems that we have had at Virgin is that we've been negotiating with the very same people that presided over British Airways whilst the Dirty Tricks campaign was taking place. I think that if British Airways had actually cleared the top people from British Airways and had replaced them with new management, that new management would have settled the affair with Virgin once and for all.
British Airways tonight said they weren't giving any interviews. Instead, they issued a written statement. BA has made it clear that any liability which it may have will be met in full, and regrets that Virgin discontinued the settlement discussions. The writ is now in the hands of our lawyers. British Airways have already had to pay more than £600,000 in libel damages and £3 million in legal costs to Richard Branson and his airline. Virgin are now thought to be seeking £9 million more in compensation. David Chater, News at 10 in central London.
The Prime Minister insisted today that the government will ratify the Maastricht Treaty. No change, he told MPs, no social chapter, no backdoor socialism. No referendum either, he said. His predecessor, Lady Thatcher, who wants a referendum, said today the government was in cloud cuckoo land over Europe. She said she'd learned her lesson when plans for setting up the single market, which she'd put her signature to, were abused.
When you get your fingers burned, the most silly thing to do is to bring forward a bigger and worse act, which is equivalent to putting your head in the fire. Is that clear? Right.
Thank you very much.
Millions voted today in the English and Welsh county council elections and in the parliamentary by-election in Newbury in Berkshire. The Liberal Democrats need a 9.3% swing to take the seat from the Conservatives. Our chief political correspondent Glyn Mathias is in Newbury. Glyn, will the Liberal Democrats get the swing they need to win?
Well, the Liberal Democrats and the Conservatives were flooding the constituency today with their helpers determined to get as many of their supporters out to the polling booths as they possibly could. The turnout is thought to be good, about 70% or so, and yes, as the polls closed, the Liberal Democrats were still looking very confident indeed. The count is being held here at Newbury Racecourse. We're in the grandstand and the ballot boxes are just coming in. The count hasn't begun yet. But it does look as if the Liberal Democrats will get more than the 9.3% swing required to take the seat. One suggestion to me tonight was that they might win by as much as 3,000 votes.
If that's the case, Glyn, how big a blow will that be to the Conservatives?
Well, it will be a significant blow for the Prime Minister. He was hoping, after all, that the much-heralded economic recovery would be followed swiftly by a political recovery for the government. But it does seem as if the voters are not quick to forgive the government for the recession and for their performance during the past year. And at the very least, this by-election will increase the pressure for an early cabinet reshuffle.
Glyn, it could be a long count. There are a lot of candidates in that race.
Well, yes, indeed, and the main reason for the long count is this long ballot paper. It's the longest ballot paper in parliamentary history, nearly 2 feet long and 19 names on it. And that does mean, indeed, that the count will take anything up to 5 hours. Trevor.
Glyn Mathias in Newbury, thank you. And results from that by-election in Newbury and the counties will be in ITN news summaries on ITV throughout the night and on our morning news at 5:30 tomorrow. Next to come on News at 10, a report says many mortgage advisors give misleading guidance, why home buyers should beware. South Africa's white farmers threaten war against the blacks, how they'll take the law into their own hands. And how children plug into pornography on computer, the dangers every parent should know.
Parents don't realise what's going on when their child goes upstairs to play on the computer.
For millions of years, mankind lived just like the animals. Then something happened, which unleashed the power of our imagination. We learned to talk. We learned to listen. Speech has allowed the communication of ideas, enabling human beings to work together. To build the impossible. Mankind's greatest achievements have come about by talking. And its greatest failures by not talking. It doesn't have to be like this. Our greatest hopes could become reality in the future. With the technology at our disposal, the possibilities are unbounded. All we need to do is make sure we keep talking.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, is that Swinton Insurance?
What's that, mate?
Oh, I was after some clarification on my home insurance policy.
Oh, I'm just checking the line, mate.
Oh, listening in, eh? They're booking Swinton. I didn't know they were trying to keep their home insurance policies top secret. I know they can help save you money, but... Is this being recorded? Can't fool me.
Who is this?
It's going to be all over the tabloids tomorrow. I can see it now. Swinton Gate.
NatWest Saturday branches are now open 9:30 to 3:30 with a counter service, giving you more time to do what you want. Which of these people have sensitive teeth? They all do. As your dentist will tell you, it's a common problem. But she uses
fresh tasting Sensodyne F with fluoride. I use it every day.
And it helps keep my breath fresh.
Sensodyne F's special ingredient quickly helps calm the nerves that cause pain. Now they all use fresh-tasting Sensodyne F to relieve the pain of sensitive teeth.
Teachers and parents were warned by police today about something nasty beginning to turn up on home computer screens. It's pornography. High-quality still and moving images can now be sent down telephone lines and stored on computers. Some of the material being transmitted is illegal and obscene, and, say the police, it's reaching children. Jenny Russell of ITN's Channel 4 News has this report.
Until recently, the main source of pornography in Britain has been sex shops, selling videos, sex aids and books. All shops stocking pornography can be checked by the police in search of material which may break Britain's obscenity laws. But now pornography has entered the computer age. It's no longer restricted by international boundaries or by the physical existence of magazines or films. For the price of a phone call, anyone with a computer and a modem can access the most brutal and perverted pornographic images yet devised and transfer them to their own computer screens. Sergeant John Ashley works undercover against pornographers. He says the most shocking aspect of the new software is that it's reaching children. Pornographers are actively targeting them.
There was one disc that was packaged with a computer game screen, whilst the rest of the disc contained maybe, I think it was 30 still images of obscene acts. So the child, if he was interrupted, hit the key on the keyboard and brought the game onto his screen.
Users looking for porn find the numbers for computer libraries through computer magazines. They dial the numbers through their modems. Once inside the system, a persistent searcher can find those libraries which stock pornography. And if the material on offer isn't sufficiently obscene, users can dial abroad, to libraries anywhere in the world. When the images are found, they're downloaded onto disks. The process is quick, private, and almost impossible to detect. And the images can be reproduced an infinite number of times. They're being sold on in the playground for as little as £1 a disc.
Children can look at a whole range of pornography that neither they nor adults could buy on the open market. Parents don't realise what's going on when their child goes upstairs to play on the computer. They probably don't know as much about computers as their children do, and their teachers don't know about this because children dare not tell anybody.
If a parent found this in the child's bedroom, right away the suspicions would be aroused. They'd examine the contents. Whereas if they found one of these, a floppy disk, they wouldn't know what this was. They'd think it was a game. That could contain still images. Or possibly a CD disc. That again could contain obscene material.
The police are able to trace some pornographers through computer networks, but they can't stop material being transferred from abroad. And unless new solutions are found, they say more and more children will be viewing violent and corrupting images. Jenny Russell, News at 10, Lancashire.
If you've ever wondered why building societies offer endowment mortgages when straightforward repayment ones would do, the Consumers Association claims to know the answer. It found that some mortgage advisors give misleading information to cash in on the commissions endowments bring. The Monopolies Commission said today it's to investigate mortgage valuations. Here's ITN's Greg Wood.
House buyers spend more than £100 million a year on valuations, but they have little chance of keeping charges down by shopping around. That's because they have to use a surveyor approved by their lender, and that approval can depend on the surveyor's ability to drum up extra mortgage business in return.
If you were buying a house, you'd want to feel that the surveyor suggested to you by the building society was the best judge of value and condition in that area. You'd be a bit upset if it turned out that he was simply the best supplier of mortgage business to that building society. At the moment, there's enough room for doubt to make this inquiry long overdue.
Lenders earn hundreds of millions of pounds a year by persuading borrowers to take out endowment mortgages, which rely on investments to pay back the loan. But a survey in today's Which magazine claims that good advice often comes a poor second to profit.
In the case of our researchers, endowment and repayment mortgages were equally suitable. What we found the advisors doing was overplaying the advantages of endowment and stressing the disadvantages of repayment mortgages. So twisting the facts, twisting the advice, just pushing endowments very, very hard indeed.
I think the criticisms are overstated.
Yes, commission is important. It's an important source of income for mortgage lenders. Without that source of income, the mortgage rate would probably be higher. It's not a question of the money going into somebody's back pocket and staying there.
The role of the lender has expanded to embrace most of the services needed to buy a house. But consumers need convincing that the resulting conflict of interest hasn't left them worse off.
Other news, customs officers smashed an attempt to smuggle drugs when they stopped an egg lorry in East London. They found £20 million worth of ecstasy, Britain's biggest ever haul, £10 million worth of amphetamines and a quantity of cocaine. The lorry came from Belgium. The Court of Appeal ruled today that a 13-year-old girl can continue legal moves to break away from her adoptive parents. The girl, who can't be named for legal reasons, wants to live with her aunt. And the former left-wing Labour MP Ian Mercado died in a Manchester hospital today. He was 84. The Labour leader John Smith said socialists throughout the world would mourn his passing. Thousands of white South African farmers, some carrying pistols in their holsters, demonstrated in the Western Transvaal today. They condemned the multi-party democracy talks aimed at paving the way for a post-apartheid future. And they said if any more of their farmers are murdered, they'd regard it as a declaration of war. Our Africa correspondent Jeremy Thompson has this special report on the mood of South Africa's right wing.
South Africa's farmers are on the warpath. Angry and frightened at the increasing number of attacks on whites, they're mobilizing their forces. Cobus Jordan and his neighbors now operate armed self-defense units to protect their families and farms, mounting roadblocks and patrols. They claim black terrorists are behind the attacks, which have killed nearly 200 farmers in the last year.
Sooner or later that there will be a spark into the powder keg, and we expect white violence that will be much worse than the current black violence.
Many believe this could be the start of an unofficial white army of the right wing. Like most of his friends, Cobus now carries a gun at all times.
It is a state of war. We are alone in this. We haven't got the government's backing, but we are under attack.
The Boers, the backbone of the Afrikaner nation, not only feel threatened by black gunmen, but abandoned by their own white government. Though they were still checking out the latest equipment at this week's agricultural show, most feel the future is bleak. Many believe self-rule is the only way to stop the government negotiating away their birthright, and they warned they'd rather spill blood on the land of their forefathers than give it up. Today, Cobus Jordan and his friends joined thousands of fellow farmers on their biggest demonstration in 8 years, a rallying call to radicalize the white middle classes. With guns on hips and flags of the old Boer homelands flying, the farmers were in militant mood. This is the most serious attempt in years to unite South Africa's right wing, and some here are even calling this the beginning of the war for white freedom.
As soon as people realize that we are going to lose our country, that we are going to lose our land, we will have a revolution, just like the American Revolution.
The government were accused of being liars and traitors. A junior minister shouted down by angry farmers who seemed to despise President de Klerk as much as the ANC. The former chief of the armed forces then delivered an ultimatum to the government.
The remedial steps that must be taken at the moment is to stop the negotiation process.
The message from the farmers was that if anyone touched their land, their culture or their religion, there would be war. Jeremy Thompson, News at 10, Potchefstroom, South Africa.
Tonight's soccer news, the FA Cup finalists Sheffield Wednesday and Arsenal had another practice tonight in the FA Premier League. This time it was Sheffield who ended up winners by 1-0. And the party continues at St James's Park. First Division champions Newcastle beat Oxford by 2-0. Tonight's top story again, the Serb-led government of Yugoslavia has declared a blockade against the Bosnian Serbs for refusing to agree to the Owen-Vance peace plan. Only food and medicine will be allowed in. Today, President Clinton called the vote in the Serb parliament a delaying tactic. And finally, like all the best pop stars, two big names from the 50s and 60s are making a comeback. Their voices haven't changed a bit, but their material has. Now, Pinky and Perky are singing cover versions of Right Said Fred. Back then, it was the Everly Brothers.
About the way you walk and contact sport. Let the neighbors talk. Deeply dippy, I'm your Superman. I'll explain. You're my lowest lane. Oh, my love. Can't make head nor tail of fashion.
We'll make our comeback tomorrow, same time, same place. Until then, from the News at 10 team, good night.
Hello, good evening. Well, apart from one or two fairly stubborn showers over Scotland, many places have been dry, bright and reasonably sunny today, and it'll be likewise tomorrow. A lot of dry and fairly sunny weather around. Even the southeast will start fairly fine with some sunshine, but gradually through the day the cloud will increase, the fairly stiff northeast breeze will set in, and there'll be one or two showers in the southeastern corner. As for tonight, well, still one or two odd showers around over Scotland, and perhaps one or two spots of drizzle from the low cloud on the east coast, but elsewhere it's dry and fairly clear, with a touch of ground frost in places where you're sheltered from the breeze. On to tomorrow then, a dry start for most people, quite a bit of sunshine around again, some stubborn cloud on the east coast perhaps, and again the chance of the odd shower in the north. The southeast will start dry, but cloud will increase fairly quickly. There'll be a stiff northeast breeze around, and one or two showers, mostly in the southeastern corner. In fact, there's a chance of one or two showers turning thundery in that corner later in the day, but most places you see dry with some sunshine. Temperatures tomorrow typically between 13 and 15, 15's 59, but much cooler on that east coast where the wind's coming in off the sea. That's it. Good night.
Friday night on ITV The Warehouse, featuring music with the Bridewells. Comedy with the Sean Connery Brotherhood. Victoria V explores Sheffield, Linda Smith observes the North. Also on the bill, The Dylans. That's Friday at 10:40 on ITV.
This is the daughter the Hills sent to law school, using money they'd kept in their savings account, which they didn't realize had been loaned abroad to a country that denies most of its people legal rights. The Cooperative Bank.
Nivea has just created the advanced Nivea Visage Liposome range. We could tell you all about liposomes and their ingredients, but would you be interested? We could even show you what they look like, but would you really care? We're sure that what you'd really rather see is the result. Naturally beautiful skin. So for naturally beautiful face care, today and tomorrow, Nivea Visage.
You know what's great about QT Instant White Tea? There's no need to add milk. Ooh, try it. You might like it.
Different types of engine demand different types of oil. Castrol has developed 4 specialist oils, from simple mineral to fully synthetic, that will cool, clean, and protect every engine. So whatever car you drive, Castrol has the oil. Castrol, the liquid engineers.
Throughout the day, your clothes pick up all sorts of dirt and odors. Some ordinary compact detergents only get out ordinary dirt. Radian gets more out by removing even fatty stains and stubborn odors, giving it deeper, fresher clean. Get more out. Put Radion in.
Yes, Martin, it's a tracksuit.
I can see that, Dad, but what's it doing on you?
It's part of my new, healthier lifestyle. First step, Kellogg's bran flakes.
Kellogg's bran flakes?
Yeah, they're high in fibre, low in fat.
They taste great. So this new lifestyle of yours means that as well as eating Kellogg's bran flakes, you'll be jogging to the newsagents every day?
Yep. One step at a time, Martin.
Kellogg's bran flakes. A step in the right direction.
Britain's favourite brands, Britain's favourite prices. Quick save.
The power of Solpadeine is now available in a new tablet form. Designed on computer to make pain relief easy to swallow. Solpadeine is one of the most powerful painkillers available without prescription. Solpadeine contains 2 highly effective pain-killing ingredients that deliver relief fast. If pain strikes, hit back with the power of new Solpadeine tablets.
Are you getting the right shot at the right time? Are you shedding enough light on the subject? Get more out of your camcorder with Camcorder Know-How.
Great, smashing, super.
Telephone banking and access to cash from over 5,000 link machines across Britain. The Cooperative Bank. Why bank with one that isn't?
No Mercy. Saturday Night Adventure, 9:50 on ITV.
In a few minutes, the weekly current affairs magazine, Edit 5. But now it's time for the latest regional news from Calendar.
Good evening and welcome to the news from Calendar. The family of a Hull prisoner critically injured while under the supervision of Group 4 security are considering suing the company. Eddie Hogg was found in a drunken stupor in a Group 4 van after a court appearance in Rotherham. He's now been pronounced brain dead. The Home Office has begun an investigation.
Britain's first private jail is tonight at the centre of a major police inquiry. Detectives manning an incident room investigating the circumstances surrounding the discovery of an inmate found slumped unconscious after consuming a huge quantity of alcohol. It's believed visitors may have smuggled in vodka disguised as spring water for 38-year-old Eddie Hogg, on remand facing drugs charges. Mr. Hogg had been taken to a hearing of Rotherham magistrates. He was discovered unconscious on his return to the jail in a Group 4 security van. Staff and inmates at the Wolds are being interviewed by detectives trying to find out how he was able to obtain such a large quantity of spirits against prison rules.
I have to consider all substances that Mr. Hogg consumed, either ate or drank during that day.
It's another serious embarrassment for Group 4, already reeling after 8 escapes from custody and criticism of widespread drug abuse at the Wolds.
Miners leader Arthur Scargill said today that the fight against pit closures is to go on, even though thousands of miners have now voted to accept British Coal's enhanced redundancy terms. Talks are to be held with the rail union RMT about a 3rd day of action as part of a continued campaign of opposition.
It's just 3 weeks since the last day of action when the NUM took to the streets to display their defiance. Since then, thousands of miners at pits across the region have voted to leave the industry. They've been tempted by enhanced redundancy payments of up to £10,000. More men are due to leave when Grimethorpe Colliery closes tomorrow. So is it realistic for the NUM to continue its campaign?
The answer is just as clear as what the French resistance was. Is it realistic when the Nazis invaded Paris for them to continue the campaign? Of course it is. The NUM will continue its resistance against all pit closures and job losses.
Talks are now to be held with the rail union, the RMT, about a further 24-hour strike. But some delegates leaving today's NUM executive meeting believe the stoppage won't go ahead without support.
The defence in the murder trial of a Lincolnshire nurse summed up its case today. Lawyers defending Beverly Allett told the jury the proper verdict would be not guilty. They argue that no one really knows what happened on Ward 4 at Grantham Hospital in early 1991, and there's no real evidence to convict Miss Allett. Hallett is denying all the charges. The judge is expected to begin his summing up in the case tomorrow. 27-year-old man has denied 10 charges in connection with attacks on women in Leeds. David Jackson, a publisher from Neville View in Osmondthorpe, has already appeared before Leeds magistrates. Today he was remanded in custody at Leeds Crown Court. The offences are alleged to have taken place on Woodhouse Moor, close to the city's university campus. Lee Morrison, the 14-year-old boy from Doncaster who had a heart transplant, went back to school today for the first time since his operation. Lee was struck down by a rare virus last Christmas, and his only chance of survival was to have a heart transplant. Fortunately, a donor was found quickly, and Lee had his operation in February. Now, just 3 months later, he's already back at school.
I'm used to being at home now. I'm glad I'm back, because I was bored of being at home.
Well, thousands of people have been voting today in the county council elections around our region, and you can find out all the results in a calendar election special later tonight. But here's Nick Powell with a preview.
Yes, if you live in Humberside, North Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, Nottinghamshire or Derbyshire, today's been your chance to have your say about the people who run the police, education and the other services provided by your county council. Now, voting ended just over an hour and a half ago or so, and as you see from these shots from the lawn in Lincoln, counting is already underway. The early indications are the turnout is relatively low. Now, we've got reporters at all the important places to bring us the news in our special programme at 12:20 tonight. And when we get to the point where you and I are saying, what does all this really mean, we turn to our political expert, Michelle Laloe from Bradford University, for crisp explanation. Where's the action going to be tonight?
Well, we're right looking at Lincoln, because Lincolnshire is going to be the interesting thing. We've got one result there. Gainsborough North has been won by the Labour Party. The interest also will be in the Liberal Democrats. We've got a result there from Humberside in Grimsby, where the Liberal Democrats have taken the park board. So quite a lot of things could happen tonight. OK, it's also the Newbury by-election as well. So generally it's England's first chance to have its real say on John Major's current government. So join us, if you will, at 12:20 for the political results. In the meantime, the sports results are in, Gaynor.
Yes, they certainly are, Nick. One result from tonight's Premier League action. Sheffield Wednesday have beaten Arsenal in the dress rehearsal for the forthcoming FA Cup final. Mark Bright got the only goal of the game in the 19th minute. Well, cricket now, and Yorkshire are in a commanding position in their first championship game of the season at Essex. At Chelmsford, Yorkshire are 353 for 8 off 112 overs. Via scored 156. At Grace Road, Notts are taking on Leicestershire. The home side won the toss, and after electing to bat are now on 219 all out. But the best bowling of the day came from Derbyshire, who bowled Warwickshire out for 192. In reply, they've reached 143 for 2 off 37 overs. Well, that's all for now, but don't forget our election special at 12:20 tonight with Nick, and of course our regular calendar bulletins throughout the day, starting at 6:15 tomorrow on GMTV. Emily Baker will be with you, but from me and the rest of the team, that's all from us. A very good night to you.
It's time for the regional weather now, sponsored by Legal & General.
Good evening again. Now, a bit of a poor grey start across our region today, but the cloud did melt away and we all saw some sunshine this afternoon. Prospects for tomorrow are not too bad, but for the weekend I'm afraid we're looking for cloudy skies and outbreaks of rain. But today's satellite picture starts us off first of all, this one taken at 9 o'clock this morning. Skegness and Boston were the places to be at that time, with the rest of us under that cloud. But as we went through the day, so that by 3 o'clock this afternoon you can see that that cloud did tend to break up. Today's weather chart shows that anticyclone up to the northeast there, and that weak frontal system which gave us that cloud this morning. If I show you tomorrow's weather chart, you can see that the isobars are becoming close together there. That means that we're looking for a strengthening northeasterly wind. Some detail for tonight then, well, broken cloud across the region. If anything, as we go through the night, the cloud will tend to break up further, so that by morning there'll be little in the way of cloud. And lowest temperatures not falling terribly low, 4 Celsius there is 39 degrees Fahrenheit in a light northeasterly breeze. Now the sun rises tomorrow morning at 5:15 and it sets again tomorrow evening at 10 to 9. First thing tomorrow then, it looks quite good. There'll be a fair amount of sunshine around, a bright start unlike today, As we go through the day, we'll see cloud tending to bubble up and increase a little bit, so that by afternoon we'll see most in the way of cloud. And over South Lincolnshire there, Nottinghamshire and the extreme south of the region, this cloud could be quite extensive, but for the rest of us there'll still be a sight of the sun. Now those northeasterly winds are going to become fresh, so it's going to feel increasingly cold as the day goes on, and the best temperature we can expect is 14 Celsius, and that's 57 Fahrenheit. But I must stress, in that freshening northeasterly wind, it's always going to feel on the cold side. There we go then. I'll wish you good night now, and I'll leave you with a summary of tomorrow's weather.
Edit 5 looks at the virus that attacked common seals after the break. Go into the region's classrooms and discover that the great education debate isn't all bad news for the future of our schools. Class of 93, Monday at 10:40 on ITV.
The Dining Room Centre now present an offer so big we could never make it before. Choose anything, and you can now take 4 years interest-free credit. Yes, 4 whole years. Just think of it. You can now afford some of the finest quality craftsman-made dining room furniture and spread today's low prices over 4 entire years without paying 1 penny in interest charges. 4 years free credit means monthly repayments have never been lower. It's an amazing offer. Make sure you don't miss it at the Dining Room Centre right now.
Oh yeah, I love my new Escort 1.6 LX. I adore the responsive 16-valve engine. The power steering's fantastic. And the anti-theft alarm's useful. The sound system's great too. Not to mention electric windows and all the other equipment. All for under £10,500 from the Shire Ford dealers. I just wish I got to drive it now and again. Thanks, Dad.
Shire Ford dealers, we've a great deal to offer.
Unless you're gay yourself, you can't imagine how isolated a gay person can feel, and the desperate need for a sympathetic person to turn to. Scunthorpe Gay Helpline, run entirely by volunteers, provides support to men and women who are coming to terms with their sexuality. If you think you may be gay and need help or a listening ear, phone Scunthorpe 271 661 between 7 and 9 any Wednesday or Friday evening.
ITV Saturday at 8 in the new weekend slot, action and drama with the Sunhill Cops in the bill. At 8:30 the drama continues with Blue Watch in London's Burning. ITV Saturday.